what I would like to ask you to do is that before we get started, and I want to encourage everyone to kind of use the chat features if you want to leave a comment or ask questions as you think of them. And then at the end of our session, I'll be able to take time to answer them. So thank you again for coming. And today's subject that I chose for our class, I'm calling Artists and Boxes. And we're going to be looking at artists who use boxes when making their artwork. And as a part of our art making experience today, I'm going to take you through the lesson of how you can make your own origami box. So, and to be fully transparent, I have some help behind me. I have our technician, Paulo, who's going to be guiding us through this. Fingers crossed, everything is going to go fine. But if not, don't worry, we'll be back and he'll take care of us. So, Paulo, if you want to pull up the second slide. And here is a list of things that you are going to need today. Maybe you have them with you already, but you'll need a pair of scissors, a pencil, paper. It could be white copy paper. If you have another color, that's fine. Or even if you have construction paper, that will work as well. And it should be about 8.5 by 11. And then you're going to need a black marker, a crayon, a colored pencil. Any one of those things will be fine. But don't drive yourself crazy trying to find everything. Just one of those would be good. So if you want to pull up the next slide, and while if there are some people who still need to get their supplies, I want to take a moment to tell you a little about these artists who I particularly like. Their name is Joseph Cornell and Louise Nevelson. Now, they have a few things in common. The first being is that they both lived here in New York City. And this, the second thing about them, well, I want to, before I go forward, Joseph Cornell actually lived in Flushing, Queens. So if there's anybody out in Queens that's watching us, a special hello to you out there. And also, Louise Nevelson was actually born in Russia, but she moved to New York City later in her life, and she studied at the Art Students League here in New York City on West 57th Street. Now, the second thing that they share in common is that they both like to use boxes when they're making their artwork. And so I have pulled together a few examples for you to see how they work as artists and how they use boxes in their artwork. So Paulo, if you can pull up the next slide and we could look at Joseph's work. So look at this piece of work. Now I have to give you a sense, this is a small box. It's not really big. You can hold it in your hand. And how he would find these really interesting objects that he would collect. He would go to um, like thrift stores or maybe bookshops, and he would find these items and would collect them over time. And he used this box, and they would call it a shadow box, to place these items in. And then when he was done, he would cover them in glass. Now, looking at this work, first thing I see are the dominoes and that little glass bottle in the corner. I'm wondering, what kind of objects do you see in the box? And if you would like to type your response in, please tell me what do you notice and what makes this box special. So this is Joseph's work. So if you want to pull up the next picture I have, and this is for Louise Nevelson. Now, you can't tell from this picture, but this is a very large sculpture, probably the size of your wall. And this also is made up a lot of interesting pieces and parts. And what she uses is wood. And maybe you might notice in here, if you look closely, maybe the leg of a chair. She would take wooden furniture and take it apart and then use it to create these sculptures. And an interesting fact about her, as a little child, her father had a lumber yard, so she would play with all the scraps of wood that she might find. And I can't help but imagine that this was part of her inspiration as she became older and grew into being an artist, is her inspiration for using these pieces of wood. So this would be a large wooden wall sculpture. So I hope that you've enjoyed looking at these works that I've shared with you and discovering how they use boxes in their artwork. So now let's take some time, and for the next slide, I want to tell you a little bit about origami. So origami is made up of two Japanese words, oryu, which means to fold, and paper. So if you think of this as the art of folding paper, and I'm sure maybe I've seen different origami features or characters or this is one which is a popular one, which is a crane, and that's a very popular one that people like to build. So, they may use flowers or animals, a whole different types of subjects for origami. But today I'm going to show you how to do a box. And you may wonder, well, what does origami paper look like? And I'll be able to show you some examples when we move to our video. But they're often made up of floral patterns, geometric shapes, and sometimes it's just plain colored paper as well. So Paula, if you want to bring up our next slide. And so in this next slide, I've made two videos to explain to you how this process works. The first one, I'm going to ask you to create a design on one side of the paper that you have. And then once you've created your design, then we will move into folding the actual box. And so Paulo, if you want to take it away, and this will be
square shape, and it also comes in a variety of designs. Oftentimes they could be floral designs like we see here, or just a variety of lines. And if we come a little closer, there are dots. It also can just be solid colors, sometimes with a design on the other side. And also oftentimes maybe some geometric shapes or patterns are used. So before we start to fold our box, I thought we would create our own design on our piece of paper. So I asked you to get a sheet of copy paper. If you have white, if you have other colors, that's fine. And you can use a Sharpie marker or a crayon. And I took the wrapper off of my crayon. And so what I'm going to do is start to just rub it all over the surface of the paper, making sure that I'm covering up the whole surface and going around the perimeter of the page, filling it all up. And if I rub a little harder, then the colors start to overlap and it gets darker. And also experiment using the side of the crayon. What type of lines can it make? Diagonal lines, or maybe sequential lines. Just filling up the whole page, creating an interesting surface and texture. Now, I understand some of you may not have a crayon, so the other option is, so I'm pretty much done with that one. So the other option is to take a black Sharpie marker and start thinking about, again, different lines, different shapes, and start to fill up the whole page now with different lines. So I'm going to use wavy lines, and I'm just going to start driving all type of wavy lines across my page, going from one side to the other, going diagonally, and just filling up. Maybe the lines are connecting to one another. And now I'm going to add some other textures, some circles, and I'm going to use a variety of sizes of circles and put one in each area. They're small, okay, and I'm just going to make a few more, and I'm going to call that done. You take about 10 more seconds to put any finishing touches, and I'll take us to the next step. Shape, we need to turn our paper into a square shape, and you do that by holding your paper in this portrait and take this corner and fold it over to this side of the paper, making sure that the edges line up. Put your finger on this corner, place your finger here, and move it out to create a sharp crease. And now you can see, so we're going to take our scissors, and with the scissors cut along this edge of the paper to remove the section that we didn't color in. Okay. Now when you open up your paper, Voila, we have a square. Now let's start to fold our paper to get it into a box shape. So we have a diagonal line that we just created. So we're going to take this edge of the paper and fold it up to this side, like so. Okay, making sure that the edges line up. Place your finger in the center, bring the other finger down, and side to side, make a nice sharp crease. Move the paper to your left one time. Let's open up the paper. In the same way, we're going to take this side of the paper and fold it up to that side. In the same fashion, keeping our finger in the center and make a nice crisp crease. Okay, so we have 4 squares: vertical line, horizontal line, diagonal line. So we need to make one diagonal line that's going to go from this corner to this corner, because we have one here already. So turn the paper once to your right, actually, so that this fold is facing up and down. And now let's take this corner and fold it to that corner. And let them two meet, keeping our finger in place. Put your finger to the middle, crease out to the side, crease out to the side. Let's open up our paper. And now we have like a radius of a star, the rays coming out. And we have 4 squares and 2 diagonal lines. So with this corner of the paper, we're going to fold it in to meet the center point where all the lines come together. You notice we have a little triangle here. Again, keeping your finger, help that stay in place. Come to the center, to the sides, and fold out. Now we're going to do that to each corner. Okay, moving it to your left. Take the corner and have it meet to this center point. Again, holding your finger in place and moving it out. Let's go for a third time. Bringing the point into the center. Folding it. And one more time, we have this last flap here. We're going to take that in and fold that so all these points come together. We make, again, a nice, crisp, sharp line. So now we're left with a square. So the next step is we have to create another fold. So taking this edge of the paper and folding it into the center, okay, holding both sides of the paper to line it up with that center line, just not over, but right next to it. Again, holding our finger in the center and moving out and moving out. So turn the paper so this side of the paper faces you. And let's take that edge and fold it up into the center. Okay. Now we have, so turn it so that the lines runs vertically. And we're going to open it up like a door opens up. Then we have to fold these sides of the paper. So taking this edge, fold it up into that center. Hold your finger and then fold out. Okay. And this is our last side that we're going to be folding. Again, take this edge of the paper and fold it into the center. Now it's important that we make these crease lines nice and crisp. So our box. Okay, so now again, open it up. We're going to open it up. So we're back to our square. Okay, that looks familiar. Let's take this triangle and open it up. And take this other triangle, which is opposite of that, and open it up. Now, turning it to this side, let's fold this back in. We created that fold already. Okay, and turn the paper around, and we created that fold already, right? I'm going to turn the paper this way. Now these two become the sides of our boxes. What I want you to notice, and I'm going to draw a line here to help you see with the crayon, because we have these folds here already. I just want to highlight them so you can see what the next step is, because it could be a little tricky. So that's my second fold and my third fold. Okay, and I'm just going to put these 1, 2, 3, and let me do the same to this side. And so I'm just drawing. You don't have to do this. I'm just drawing over these lines so you can see what's going on here. It helps. Okay, so again, we have our two sides. We folded them over. Now what we're going to do is on this line, these sides are going to pinch in, and we're going to fold them in. See how these two triangles meet up? And we have this third line here that okay, so we know that we're going to fold that over. I'm going to put it down here to help, and we're going to fold that flap over that side. Now you can see we have 3 sides of our box ready. Okay, I know that's a little tricky, so I'm going to open it up one more time because it could be a little difficult to get. So you want to open it up, okay, pinch the sides together and fold that flap over. Okay, and for the next one, again, if it helps to pinch it in. Now again, this is where we're going to fold on this third line. So we pinch so the triangles meet up. So they pinch in, kind of grab them so the two triangles are almost touching. Maybe we need to help it in a little bit and fold these flaps over to create our origami box. Now, I told you to bring another sheet of paper, and I already have this prepared. So now you do the same process, and when you're done, the two pieces come together. And you have your own origami box, which you can use to store things, use it as a box to give to a friend.
Well, hello, everybody, and I am back. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about how to fold an origami box. Now, I realize that you may not have gotten everything done in this one session. And I myself, when I was learning it, fumbled a lot and it was a little tricky to get. So you can always go back to the 92nd Street Y's website, and you'll be able to review this video and to go at your own pace. But in the beginning, I had asked you to maybe bring a second sheet of paper. And what I want to encourage you to do is, once you have this technique down and you understand it, you can make a bottom for your box, and now you will have a completely enclosed box. And so I want to ask you, as I have here in this slide now, what will you do with your box? I have given you some different ideas. Maybe you can give it as a gift. I think that would be really a wonderful idea. Last week, if you tuned into Miss Dina's broadcast, she created an origami heart. So this could be something beautiful you could keep in it. But what I want to show, but also what I want to encourage you to do is take a picture of it and post it on social at our hashtag 92Y. And you could also, the great thing about this is you can go back and open up your box And if you decide that you want to decorate it a little bit more or add some colors, it's very easy to open up, and you can go back in and work and add some more details to your box, which I'm sure you guys could do. So at this moment, I want to give you the opportunity, if you have any questions or comments you would like to type in the message, you could do that at this time. We have just a few more minutes. Let me look. We have about 10 more minutes left. Um, Okay, yes, someone is asking if this is available. Yes, you can go to the 92nd Street Y and review the other videos from the other classes as well. So these classes take place 2 times a week, Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock. So I'd encourage you to check back in and see. Next week, we are going to have a lesson on 1 point perspective drawing. But I want to share something with you and how I am inspired. I want to show you one of my boxes that I created it as I'm inspired by boxes. I call this a memory box. And someone had given me this collection of cigar boxes, and they're actually from India. And so I was inspired to do some work with them. And I put this on this wooden base and I kept the door on it. And so let me open up my memory box for you to share what I put in it. So these are actually my toys that I had growing up. For those watching, Fisher Price, and I've had them for all these years. And I decided, well, I want to create them and create a collection of them in my special box that I have. And so I hope maybe you may have some ideas after looking at the work of Joseph Cornell and Louise Nevelson, how they were inspired to use boxes in their artwork. So I'm wondering, what might you do with your origami box? What might you add to it? I see some people are saying hello from 92nd Street Y. Let me say hello to Leo, Elliot, Jill. So nice. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you as my students and to take this time to learn something new while we're at home. So I think we have a few more minutes, maybe about 8 minutes. Anybody care to add a comment, have a question? How did you find this process? I know it could be a little, frustrating the first time doing it out, but always welcome for your feedback and to hear what do you think about origami boxes. Are you inspired to maybe create more, to give it as a gift? And we'll give you a few more minutes. Well, so, I want to thank you all for joining me for this special program and the way that the 92nd Street Y continues to reach out and to support artists and also the students as well. So I hope that maybe you give your memory box to someone that you care about, or maybe to use it to store something special that